Hello everyone. We are today going to discuss about the design patterns for developers and for general problem solving in programming. So mainly we will be discussing about a couple of design patterns that are being used heavily when you are writing programs or designing software programs. So my name is Nishan Vikramaratne. I am currently working as an associate technical lead for Synergy. So we'll move on to what are the design patterns that we are trying to discuss in this series. So first of all, a design pattern is a sort of a general reusable solution for common problems which occurs in actually software design. Uh, so don't get me wrong, you don't have to use a design pattern every time. It's not mandatory to always implement design patterns in your projects. So because they are not meant for project development, design patterns are meant for common problem solving. Whenever there is a need to do or rather implement a design patterns, you have to implement a suitable pattern to avoid such problems in the future, right? So as I said, it is a general reusable solution for common problems that occur in software design. So it typically shows relationships and interactions between classes and objects. I hope you guys have some sort of a basic understanding in object-oriented concepts. So there we deal with classes and objects, right? So today what we are discussing about is how to sort of arrange and reuse and create relationships, interactions between classes and objects using design patterns. So main idea behind design patterns is that when it comes to design patterns, we can identify three main groups. So out of those three groups, we will be taking couple of or maybe we will be taking a sample out of those groups and we will be discussing that. Okay, so in our series, we'll be discussing singleton factory, abstract factory, and builder. Then abstract builder under creational designs methods. Then we will be discussing adapter, decorator, proxy under structural design patterns. And next, we will be discussing observer, MVC, dependency injection under behavioral design patterns. Right? But you don't have to actually go through all of these if you are trying to get an understanding on design patterns. And that being said, I want to highlight that these are not the only design patterns that we have or that we use. There are many more, but these are selected because these are very popular and simple and easy to implement and easy to understand as well. So it is recommended that if you guys can maybe go through six of the selected design patterns that I have highlighted here. I have taken two out of each group, and so mainly they are singleton factory, adapter, decorator, observer, and MVC. So it is better if you guys can either master all these 11 design patterns, but if cannot, it is recommended at least try to understand these six design patterns so that it will be helpful for you guys when you are developing programs, facing interviews, and sometimes you will be writing your own projects, writing your own software someday, and when day comes, you will have to do this or rather implement design patterns when you are doing them in your projects, right? So that is the main idea. And if we try to focus on what are these three types of design patterns that we have, as I mentioned, creational, structural, and then behavioral. first of all, we'll look into creational design patterns. So here we are trying to deal with object creation mechanisms. So it is we are trying to create objects in a suitable manner for the situation. So as per the usage, they are used when a system should be implemented, or are they independent of how its objects are created. So you guys know that when you want to create an object, you are using the new keyword and creating the object out of that class whenever you want to use it, right? So you are creating the object where you are using it in the same or in the same place. But what happens if you want to separate that, though, so that your object creation happens in a different place, and when you want to use it, you are using it in a different place. So that is some sort of a use case for this design pattern. So we have multiple, as I mentioned, design patterns to achieve this singleton factory, abstract factory as such. So we'll learn how to do that in a future lecture. So for the moment, just try to understand that these creational design patterns deal with how to create objects or other object creation mechanisms, right? And the next one is structural design patterns. So the purpose of structural design patterns are mainly concerned with object composition or other structure, as the name suggests. Um, so if you want to in a future add a new functionality to a class or add new functionality to the objects, or create new relationships and all, how to manage that, that is discussed under structural design patterns. So here we are talking about how to manipulate existing classes and existing relationships so that we can come up with a new functionality or introduce new functionality to our system. So as said, these structural design patterns are mainly concerned with object composition and object structure, right, to adopt new functionalities. And the next one is behavioral design patterns. The purpose of these behavioral design patterns are, uh, we are trying to focus on interaction and communication between the objects, define how they collaborate and operate together. So you know that one class can have many responsibilities or one responsibility, and one classes can communicate with each other, right? Using different mechanisms, and behavioral design patterns are built to cater that functionality or cater that need, so that we can communicate with other objects, and separating concerns between multiple objects, delegating work to some other class, right? So if you want to if you are creating a web application, if you want to access the database and do the apply some other functionalities on top of the data being retrieved, and then present that data to the user. So all those three things can be separated into separate classes, right? Accessing data can be done by one class. Modifying that data or running some sort of a other functionalities on top of that objects can be done by some other class. Then presenting that modified data to the end user or the to the user interface can be done by some other classes. So likewise, separating those things are rather discussed in behavioral design patterns, mainly the interactions between the classes and how they are communicated are discussed here. So when we try to learn this, we'll go through this simple process. We'll first of all discuss what is the problem, then we'll discuss what is the solution, then we'll discuss by applying that solution what sort of results that we get, and if there are any disadvantages of applying that solution. So not all design patterns solve all problems, right? So one design pattern is built to solve one problem. There can be some other problems as well, but design patterns, there is no one specific design pattern to solve all problems, right? So every design pattern has a problem that it is going to solve, and it has presented the solution. This is the way to do it, and by doing that solution, we will get some results. Maybe we solve the problem. Of course, we have to solve the problem, but then there will be some other disadvantages of doing that. But anyway, if solving that problem is our need, we'll have to do it without thinking about the disadvantages, right? Okay, so before we start diving in, I need you guys to have some basic understanding of object-oriented programming concepts. And if you know basic concepts of object-oriented concepts, then anyway you will have some sort of a hands-on experience in maybe Java or C Sharp or C++, some sort of an object-oriented programming language. And if you have these two, you can move on to design patterns and learning that, because understanding design patterns and how they are implemented needs this basic understanding on object-oriented concepts and programming. Otherwise, it will be a bit hard. I'm not saying it is going to be like impossible, but it's going to be a bit hard to understand design patterns if you don't know object-oriented programming. So all the source code I am demonstrating here can be downloaded from this repository. You can go ahead and click on this tile to download that code when I share the slides, right? So without further ado, let's start with the design patterns.